probably start with an apology. It's not normally my style, but there's a small possibility you may learn something from this. And there might also be some swearing. Sorry, I don't like swearing. I fucking love it. But I'm a Geordie, so you know. So despite the eloquent start and utter confusion with the microphone stand and Geordie accent, I am educated as a physicist. It was never going to be English, really. And I was educated at the university, so if there are any factual inaccuracies tonight, it's not my fault, it's Jamal Khalidi's. And the work I do is I try to stop people smuggling nuclear weapons between countries. So what would happen if the government had a nuclear apocalypse? And somebody said to me, that sounds a bit James Bondy. And I know the first thing that pops into your mind when I say physics is Daniel Craig. But it's not really James Bond stuff. It's even more exciting. My computer is full of web searches for curious words like plutonium, weapons-grade uranium, and critical mass for nuclear weapons. So waterboarding's fun. And as well as dealing with the NSA, I deal a lot with radiation and radioactive material, and I find those words conjure up images of mushroom clouds and death, and the Incredible Hulk, and glowing testicles. My computer also now has web searches for how to spell testicles. So. Johnny. But I find this sort of stigma behind radiation really interesting, because it's great. Unlike other nasty, dangerous things like chemicals, explosives, or viruses, radiation wants to be found. It jumps up and shouts, "Look at me." The dangerous stuff really wants to be found. It's like you, and you, and you, not you, but you, all of you, definitely not you, and you, look at me! And the stuff that doesn't really want to be found kind of sits in the corner like an angry teenage emo. Don't look at me. And they're pretty harmless until there's enough of them to cause a riot about student fees. And if you're kind of wondering what I'm talking about here, you've probably all heard the clicking of the Geiger counter before. Oops. That's basically a bit of radioactive material telling you that it's got ADHD. So. I work with it a lot, so. And the other great thing about radiation is it's really safe. There are 4 very basic principles. The first one most people know about is shielding. So you cover your bits with lead, you'll probably be okay. A lot of testicle references. So I just learned to spell it. So. The other ones aren't really talked about as much. One is distance, so get the hell out of there. The other is time, get the hell out of there quickly. And the other is radiation dose, so how much you can receive. For example, if you have one attention-seeking moron, says the person on stage, you'll probably be okay, but if you have a football stadium full of them, you might have a bit of a problem. Or an episode of the Only Way is Chelsea show in a jungle. And my favourite example of these basic principles, how to use them, came out of Russia. Let me set the scene. In the middle of butthole nowhere, they found a radioactive source. It was so radioactive, it was melting the snow around it. I think shepherds were using it at night to keep warm, if shepherds are still a thing. And this wasn't near Chernobyl. This was hundreds of miles from civilization in the middle of Siberia. How it got there, I have no idea, but clearly it couldn't be left there. It was worth way too much to Iranians. So they had to go get it, but they couldn't just fly down in a helicopter to go get it. For one thing, the pilots might get a dangerous dose of radiation. For another thing, they couldn't carry enough fuel to fly there and back. Literally butthole nowhere here. So what they did is they got in a tank thing and drove down with some soldiers and some additional fuel. And when they got down there, they discovered that it was in the middle of some like rough, rocky terrain. They couldn't just drive up to it. They were pretty screwed until a brave physicist stepped up. And he saw that there were 20 soldiers. And then he calculated that if each one of those 20 soldiers took one turn to run over to the source, pick it up, and run back as far as possible in 2 minutes, then between all of the 20 soldiers, they could get it from where it was to the tank without getting a dangerous dose of radiation. So that is distance, time, dose. One of the soldiers pointed out that with the physicist there was actually 21 of them, but the courageous physicist said that somebody needed to keep time. So, literally, on the Tinterweb somewhere, there is a video for this, right? And there's all the soldiers lined up behind the physicist. He gave them some grabbers to, you know, make it safe. And the first soldier just trumps up and the physicist goes, right, Russia. Kevin off ski. On my first whistle. Get my prop. Run and get it and come back. On my second whistle. Get the hell out of there. Quickly. And then your mate, Brian Slav, will go and do the same thing. So, Kevin Ofsky lines up. I think he mutters something under his breath. I think he's actually a sailor because it ended in anchor. And he's off. He's over a rock, through a stream, bounding through the snow. He battles off the mutant shepherds and the giant glowing testicles, all to the sound of shit, 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 shit. This is the difficult bit. He gets the source, conveniently represented by this green bottle of Mountain Dew. Other American shit drinks are available. He turns around, he comes back. He bounds through the snow, goes through the river, jumps through a rock, all to the sound of shit. The whistle goes again. He throws it away, possibly a little further than when it started. And he gets out of there. And then Brian Slav is off. And this continues backwards and forwards, soldier to soldier, until they get the source from where it was to the back of the tank. They cover it in lead, drive off into the sunset, and later sell it on eBay to Iranians. And if it wasn't for the actions of that brave physicist, it would have gone all wrong, because every single one of those soldiers was perfectly fine. In fact, even to this day, each one of them is still glowing strong. Awful. So, what have we learned today, peoples? Well, hopefully we've learned that radiation is great, and that physicists are fearless, and saying physicists is fearless is really hard, and that Russia is a great place to pick up red hot radiation. Thank you.